Right, everyone, I promised you yesterday that we would now move on and look ahead to the big game on Sunday. We're doing that from this point on 67 Hail Hail. We've got, less than 72 hours now until kick-off at Hampden. We've got Jackie and John on this video. Before we move on to the game on Sunday, guys, Celtic did today send out their stuff to do with voting for the end of season awards. It's not really end of season awards though, is it? It's kind of 6 weeks from the end of the season awards. We've got Player of the Year, Goal of the Season, Young Player of the Year and Women's Player of the Year. We're going to do a proper 67 Hail Hail awards thing when the season is all over. But just quickly, Player of the Year, John, who would it be right now?
Well, Celtic had a list of like 6 people, and I think it was like McGregor, Carter, Vickers, Jota, Furuhashi, and Joe Hart. Yeah, I think in the end I chose Callum McGregor. Not because I think any other players haven't had a good season, but I just think Callum McGregor for me has been all round from start to finish, from the start of the year to where he is now, and the way he's led this team and brought them on under Ange has been impressive for me, not just in his performances, but just in his whole general demeanour. He seems to be the Ange ball man these days. So I went for him in the end rather than Carter Vickers, who I know a lot of people are voting for. Jackie, what would your thoughts on a kind of player of the season type pick would be?
No, I think I would totally agree with what you said there. I think he's been excellent taking over for Scott. Even playing with his mask on and through injury and different things and crucial games, the game against Rangers and stuff like that. So I think, it says a lot because there's been so many good performances this season, compared to before. Captain Vickers, Joe Hart's been a great signing, the steady, and the difference that makes alone from last year. Ralston, I think has been fantastic. He's been very lucky not to play more games. And moving up there, Kyogo as well before his injury. So, no, I think that it's a real team performance right throughout, but Callum is kind of the stand-up because he's obviously the leader and starts things off.
I'm going to be incredibly boring then and agree with you both, and I did think that before you both spoke. I think it's almost asking who's been the most important player for you during the course of the season, and McGregor for me has been the most important player for Celtic. I think he's just so important to the style Ange wants to play, linking the defence to the midfield to the attack. He does all of that. Carter Vickers has been incredible, but I just think for me at the moment McGregor's slightly ahead of him. But this could all change at the end of the season when we do our awards. We could have Kyogo or someone like that if he has an incredible end to the season. Goal of the season now, Callum McGregor versus Midtjylland is the best goal Celtic scored this season, but it won't win it given the result, and rightly so. It's obviously Kyogo v Ferencváros, lads. It's got to be. I mean, that pass from Jota, that's an iconic Celtic goal. And I'm going to mute you if you disagree with me, John.
No, it's not that I disagree with you, right? And so I've got another thing. Like I actually had the Callum McGregor goal versus Midtjylland as number one right up until the weekend. I know a lot of people are saying, I know it's kind of overrated, perhaps in some ways, but that O'Reilly goal the weekend with the passing sequences and the movement and the team rotating around the pitch and going from side to side, back to front and back again, combined with the finish of O'Reilly. I know it's a pure recency thing, and like it's because it just happened at the weekend. But I really loved that goal, and the theory behind it is that again, like it just kind of sums up the journey that Celtic have been on this season. Like they wouldn't have scored that goal at the start of the season, and they're scoring goals like that now. And if you look at the goal, the players are in positions that they shouldn't really be in, and they're moving into positions that they wouldn't have a year ago. And it's because of Ange and the way he's coached the team over the last 9 months that were managing to play football. So I understand that Ferencváros goal was incredibly beautiful. But for me, I actually voted for that O'Reilly goal the weekend. Jackie, what are your thoughts? Do you prefer a 20-yard banger, or are you a fan of these passing goals that end in a nice sequence?
It's kind of mixed. I like important goals. If you're 3 or 4-0 up and there's a screamer comes in, it's not the same effect. But when it really matters to the result of the game, importance of the game, and I think there's been quite a number of the goals this season. Not spectacular goals, ones that spring to mind. Abada against Dundee United, Ralston against Ross County in the last minute. Their goals are crucial to where the team is at the moment and that run that they've been on. So for me that we'd have to kind of analyse it.
I like
closely.
that. I think maybe a good one would be Kyogo's second goal in the cup final.
It's got a bit of everything.
I was actually going to say that one, to be honest, because the movement there and just the quickness of thought, between the two of them, and then the execution as well was a great finish and touch.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the options as well. In fact, both of his goals in that match against Hibs were options. So, we've got that, and we've also got Young Player of the Year and Women's Player of the Year as well that you can vote for. You can do that, I think, on the Celtic website. We, as I say, will have a proper... I've got big plans, put it that way, for the end of the season with the 67 Hail stuff. Right, moving on, we're less than 72 hours now away from kick-off at Hampden. Celtic versus Rangers, a place in the final on Saturday the 21st of May is up for grabs. I feel like this game has crept up on us a little bit. The last game we had ages to build up to it. Do we feel differently about this one, Jackie, in comparison to Ibrox a couple of weeks ago?
No, I think you're probably more confident, just because it's the Ibrox one was different because the majority of fans there are all Rangers fans. This is different. It's the National Stadium, and it's just there's never been intimidated or anything else. And I think the way the team's playing, they seem to be getting better and better. So. They took great confidence from the game at Ibrox, and then obviously at the weekend there it could have been double figures. At home, the team kind of struggled from before. So no, I think they'll be looking forward to it. Rangers have got a big game beforehand as well that they'll take a bit out of them. So no, I can only see a win at the weekend.
Jackie, you've scored in a Scottish Cup semi-final, scored in a Scottish Cup final. Do the players approach these games differently, or is it just is there a different feeling in the build-up to these big games at Hampden rather than your run-of-the-mill league game, even at this stage of the season?
Yeah, there is. I mean, obviously the final's different. It's a different build-up. You get the whole day about it. It's like, it's such a the semi-final. You don't want to win you don't want to lose a semi-final. It's a must-win game, to get that far. And then the final is a full day thing. There's all the stuff before it and everything else, but you just want to make sure you're lifting that cup at the end of it. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day is lifting trophies and celebrating. So, but the semi-final is one can sometimes be a little bit cagey. You don't want to get it away and make sure you get through.
And did you ever get the sense like the Scottish Cup meant more to the Scottish players in the dressing room? Like, will this mean more to Callum McGregor than perhaps your Kyogo, or was it never about that? Is it just about winning medals and winning silverware?
I suppose it was different because obviously growing up, you used to watch them lifting the Scottish Cup. That it was the big, similar to England, the FA Cup. It's everybody dreams about lifting that. The league's always the most important as a Celtic player for obvious reasons, but the Scottish Cup, I think the players kind of buy into it quickly. When I think they'll all know by now. It doesn't matter what game they're playing or what competition. The Celtic fans will be there and they'll be expecting and demanding that they do their best to win it. Every competition, no matter who it is.
I think we're all pretty calm about Sunday. Certainly quite hopeful. If you perhaps aren't feeling that way, let me calm you down. Celtic's recent record at Hampden is incredible. We've won our last 17 matches at the National Stadium, including 4 against Rangers with an aggregate scoreline of 8-0. Rangers, in contrast, have lost 6 out of their last 7 at the National Stadium, with 4 of those losses coming against us. Jackie, does that kind of record play on a player's mind, either positively or negatively?
No, I would say it's positive. It's more. I'll say it's more a worry to the Rangers side that they've not managed to do that, and it's a record that they'll want to stop. They want to be part of history. They want to make sure that they don't keep adding to that and adding to that. But in terms of the two teams, where the two teams are just now, Celtic's in a really strong position. Confidence-wise, team-wise, energy in the camp. They've got so many options there as well with players coming back. So, it's the pressure's all on Rangers.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Jackie. Like, I am sensing that the pressure is all on them as well. Like, not to say that a win wouldn't be important for Celtic, because of course it would for all sorts of reasons. But this is like the end of their season almost. Like, if we beat them on Sunday, like that's what it feels like, and that's what a lot of people will be thinking, even if they're not saying it. And I do get the sense that if they don't beat us on Sunday, then they're facing a whole summer of almost torture. Similar to what we faced last year, and a kind of rebuilding job. And for Celtic, it's kind of like it would be fantastic to win the Scottish Cup, and it would be a real feather in Ange's cap. But it's not the be all and end all for us when we feel like we're in such a strong position in the league. So I agree. I think the pressure's all on them. And again, I think that's a good thing. I think that plays into our hands. I think you saw at the weekend, Jackie, that team played with real freedom and kind of didn't seem to have any pressure on their shoulders. Do you get the sense that they feel like they're close to that finishing line now?
Yeah, and saying that as well, I mean, last year, Rangers where they are this year to last year, it's, they'll still be pushing, there'll still been the chances to win everything. But the difference is how good Celtic have been this year. It's not that Rangers have been poor. It's Celtic standards have went, the mentality that they've got about, they believe in what they're doing. The players are bought into Ange's philosophy. You see it from the start of the season right the way through. Even games when they haven't played at their best, but they still have kept going. They still believe in what they're doing, and they've bought into everything. So, and now when you see it clicking, you always felt that somebody was going to get a good 5, 6, 7 goals against them, and then it's no surprise when it happens. So it'll be nice if it happens again at the weekend.
It's happened at Hampden before, Jackie. 7-1 70 odd years ago.
You see the game at Celtic Park when it was 3-0 at half time, which is bang, 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 and obviously they made changes in the second half, and the Rangers made changes well to their system. But I think Morelos is a big loss for them, which he was at Ibrox, because they don't have that out ball when they're pressing, and Celtic's pressing high and forcing Rangers to kick it long. They don't have the presence to hold it up and get up the park. So the pressure just will be continuous. And I expect it to be the same on Sunday. I expect them to be sitting in and trying catching the break, or I don't think they'll dominate possession.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason that is a good thing about it. I know it's great fun when Rangers are terrible. But like you say, Jackie, it's not even as if they've fallen off a cliff this season, because you look at it and they've got a chance of going through to the semi-final of the Europa League. Like, this is a decent team, and it's almost more satisfying when Celtic beat a half decent Rangers team than a terrible looking one for me. I don't know how you guys, Hamish, I know you just like rubbing their nose in it.
Pretty much.
But for me, I get a satisfaction knowing that they're doing pretty well in Europe, and Celtic are still better than them. I get a real sense of satisfaction from that. It's
so bizarre. People will write like things in future about Rangers and this Rangers team, about how they're so incredible in Europe, yet they just can't get the better of Celtic really anytime when it really matters, when fans are in the stadium. Like, I just get so much faith in Celtic at the weekend, and I know I've joked about it, but I genuinely do feel really calm about this game, like as calm as I can remember about a derby game. I think if it was a league game, I'd be a bit more nervous, because that is the thing that really matters this season, and I really, really want to win on Sunday. But I just feel generally, I've got total faith in this Celtic team now, that I think, like, when you're looking at a derby game, and the worry is always, do Celtic turn up not at their top level, and do Rangers get the better of us with them playing well? I think it's pretty safe to assume Celtic will be firing in all cylinders on Sunday, because that's just the way Ange gears the team up for these kind of matches. It's always really been the case, especially when we've had a full week to prepare for it. And I just think if Celtic, with all these options we have, turn up and play like we have, like not just last weekend, but for like the last 4 or 5 matches, Livingston away, really good. Dundee United away, we won that comfortably in the Cup. The derby at Ibrox, Ross County at home, St John's at home. We've been brilliant in all of these matches. So that would suggest a good Celtic will turn up on Sunday. And I just don't think that I genuinely don't think Rangers get near to that Celtic team when we're playing like that. And I think that's where, my kind of serenity comes from in this game. That's just how I feel. Obviously, things could happen in the match, but things happened at Ibrox. 2 minutes, we go behind, and we still came back to win. So nothing can really go as badly as that in the early stages. And 50,000 home fans, and still for Celtic to come back to win. For me, that just suggests that we should all have total faith in this team. What about the fact that Rangers are playing tonight, Jackie? You must surely feel that in the legs a few days later, a big game like tonight, especially against a Celtic team that's so hard working.
Yeah, I think it will make a big difference. I know you can get through things when you're going to play in the derby. The pressure there, the adrenaline can get you through things and stuff like that. But the energy there, it's a big ask. It is a big ask, But I mean, the players should be used to it. Playing Thursday, Sunday. But it's more the importance of that and the energy. And I think that's what Celtic can exploit that early on, just by the sheer pressure and energy that they can, take to them. They have got the advantage, that there's no doubt about that, because they've had extra time from the game last weekend to prepare, more energy to go into the match, and that would make them heavily favourites for it.
Yeah, I do actually have that adrenaline question written down. How far does adrenaline get you in a match like this, Jackie?
60 minutes. No. I mean, it just depends how the game tonight goes. It's a massive game for them. As I said, that they've done really well to get to where they are in this stage. They've had some really good results, and if they were to produce an unbelievable victory tonight, that would give them a real shot in the arm and take the pressure off of Sunday as well. They could go there in a different frame of mind, so they would get a big lift from that, everybody. So, through experience, when we got to the final, we did the Bow of Easter, we played away at Ibrox on the Sunday, and we still won. So, it's the energy, the everything else, just the energy around the fans, the club, the players, the confidence. So, that kind of got us through the game, and we went on to win it at the weekend as well.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that, and it was full on party mode at Ibrox that day, because of what had happened in Europe. So, I agree, I'll have a different way in the way the fans look at it as well. Just think, with this Celtic team particularly, they're just so relentless in the pursuit of the players when off the ball. Jackie, for me this season, I've always taken this into account, but the thing that Postecoglou coming to Celtic and playing the way a football would do has made me really double down on my appreciation for the work that players do off the ball. Now, you'll know that as a player yourself, and the work that you did off the ball as well at Celtic, but I just feel like they'll be relentless in their pursuit of Rangers on Sunday. It's not like, last week when they had to kind of save 10 minutes of possession at the start of that game against St Mirren. They're going to have to be at it from the very first whistle on Sunday. And I just think Celtic can really take the game to them and put them under pressure early.
Yeah, and I think that will be Ange's message as well to the players. That's the way he goes about it, and he's not worried about making changes on the hour mark and freshen things up and going again. And that's, once you've sustained that and then give everything they've got for an hour, he's got enough changes there to get more energy in and put more pressure on them. And I think that's what it could be, the real benefits of the weekend.
Ange just really harnessed that 5 sub rule as well. I know that every team can do it, but Ange just really bought into those rotation of players in the second half. Hamish, have you noticed that over the last few weeks, particularly?
Yeah, it was the weekend. I mean, the subs we brought on at the weekend were just incredible. I couldn't go over David Turnbull, a guy who's been so highly rated, just coming on as a sub casually when you're 5 or 6-0 up against St Johnstone, and obviously the legs as well. And I think we've got a much stronger squad than Rangers. I think we've got a much stronger bench than them. I'm pretty sure the last derby at Ibrox, that was the case as well. I remember looking at our bench that day, even without Kyogo, and seeing the amount of options that could come on to change the game. I mean, Matt O'Reilly came on for 5 minutes, went back off, and we brought David Turnbull on. That just shows the strength and depth, and they didn't have those options at all. And I think that will be the case again on Sunday. So yeah, happy about that. If we just pick our Celtic team then, guys, Ange has named the same starting lineup for the last 3 matches. Obviously, Giakoumakis is the big one that we're kind of interested in. Ange not giving much away, as is typically the case. Kind of feel like he might not be around for this one. Does anyone have anything otherwise? What's your feeling, John?
I got the sense from what Ange said that even if he's back for the other games in this season, that he would miss this one. Like, he was feeling his hamstring, got sent for a scan. I think they're waiting on the results of the scan. I just feel like he won't be around for this one, which is a shame because of how good he's been. But like, if you're talking about a replacement, you do have Kyogo there. He kind of hinted that you wouldn't start Kyogo as well, just because of how long he's been out. But we know Postecoglou likes a little deflection in the media sometimes, so perhaps that's just his way of keeping people guessing. But then you've also got Maeda as well, and he could be crucial through the middle as well. So I'm not particularly worried about Giakoumakis, but I don't think he will be available now.
If we just build our team, as I say, then from the back, I think Hart, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor is what most would agree on. McGregor in front of that. You can have 2 of Hatate, Rogic and O'Reilly. I don't think Turnbull will be around. Jackie, who are you going for out of those 2?
I think McGregor, Hatate and Rogic. I think he'll start O'Reilly on the bench.
Is that harsh on O'Reilly?
Yeah, it's harsh on them all, to be fair. Harsh on Ralston, as well. How he's done this season. Harsh on a few players, but that's what it says when a team is doing well. That's same with the forwards. I think it's up to him to when he comes on to make an impact and get back in that starting 11.
I've said, I'm a big fan of O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly will be one of our players of the season next year. But again, I agree. I think it's just a game for Rogic again.
Just from history and what he's done in this fixture at Hampden.
I've kind of been saying this over the last few weeks, but I always feel like Rogic has got this mentality or this calmness that he kind of plays above the occasion. He won't really care it's a semi-final. He won't care it's against Rangers. He just kind of plays above all that and does what he does. He finds those pockets of space and he has those quick feet to release other people. And I just think it's exactly what we'll need again on Sunday. Like,
he's just got that little bit extra speed in O'Reilly. That extra bit of movement that. Yeah. Especially if they're tired at all and just gets that half turn and running at them, which can cause them real problems in the little pockets.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I did have O'Reilly down next to Hatate, but you've both persuaded me with that. Tom Rogic, I mean, he was great at Ibrox, so that's probably enough evidence there. But O'Reilly, brilliant sub to have coming off the bench. Front 3, assuming Giakoumakis misses out. Jackie, your ex-teammate John Hartson was reckoning that Kyogo will start the game after all. What's your thoughts?
I'd be surprised if he started it. I think he would go Abada, Jota and Maeda and maybe start Kyogo on the bench, which is not a bad sub to come on, as I said, that hour mark. But I'd be surprised if he started him, especially so soon and coming back as well.
We've not really seen too much of Maeda up front. Are we fine with that for a game of this magnitude, especially when he was so good on the left? Do you think Stevie John seemed to think it was quite a big defining part of the game potentially, that Maeda, who'd been so good at limiting Tavernier, couldn't play anywhere else other than the left?
The thing is, though, he's going to limit Tavernier again. Like he's just, because he's everywhere. He's right across that, and like, even when he's playing on the left, he doesn't restrict himself to that side of the pitch. He's through the middle. He's sometimes on the right hand side as well. Like, I don't think it matters that he plays, through the middle. We might miss a penalty at box presence, but I think that's where someone like Abada comes in as well, because one of the big kind of instructions from Postecoglou to the team this season is that when the ball's on the left hand side, the opposite winger almost plays as the penalty box player. And Abada's been so good at drifting into those areas and finding that space in the penalty area. But I think if you have Maeda through the front and Abada on the right, then I don't think it takes away too much from what Giakoumakis offers, other than that kind of physical, getting into battles and winding up the opposition kind of thing that he does. Maeda doesn't really do that, but he terrorises the opposition in another way, let's say.
And Abada has had a lot of chances against Rangers. I mean, he had 2 when he came on at Ibrox. His movement seems to really trouble them. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Kyogo starting, but I've said all along that I don't think he will. I think he's a really good option off the bench, and I think in general that's a Celtic team that can beat Rangers on Sunday, even though we're missing a couple of players, in attacking areas. A nice easy question to finish, Jackie. If you had one bit of advice from playing in these derby games, what would it be?
I think it's simply just go out and play your game. Don't get caught up in the occasion, which I did quite a few times. Punching Hateley or getting sent off for Gascoigne and stuff. So yeah, as you get older, you get wiser, as I say. But yeah, it's take the emotion out of it and just go and play your normal game.
I know you're saying that, and that's useful. But did you feel that you got an edge to your game when you almost harnessed that energy from the crowd? You're saying you had those incidents in those derbies. Did it give you an edge?
I think to be honest, I think you do need an edge. You do need an edge. It's just controlling it. A few times I didn't. Although the Hateley one, I punched him in the face and he got sent off, I got away with it. The other one sending off at Ibrox, it was 2 yellows and a few altercations with Gascoigne in the game. But it's just, I don't think I would ever change, even going back now. Certain things you'd be a bit wiser to when they're trying to wind you up and stuff. But just wanted to win, just wanted to beat them.
Do you think the games have changed a lot since the days you played, Jackie, these derbies?
Yeah. They changed because of the tackles and the TV and all the different things that's there. It's changed so much in that side. But I used to get away with a lot of things that the players wouldn't get away with now. I would have probably had a few more red cards nowadays than I did back in the day.
I think it's changed even in the last 10 years. I mean, if you think about the last few derbies compared to when Neil Lennon and Ali McCoist were, going at each other on the touchline, and I mean, I was at that game, and I think it was overplayed about what happened that night in terms of the so-called shame it brought on Scotland and all that nonsense. But there was it felt like those players hated each other. I'm not quite sure the players at the moment hate each other, although there was a good bit of needle between Giakoumakis and Ryan Jack in the last game. So, I mean, I'm big. I was just saying to Hamish before we came on air here, like that Atletico City game last night. I love a little bit of needle in a game. I love a little bit of drama. So I wouldn't be against some of that on Sunday. It just, always you want Celtic to come out on top with the cool heads and almost play above it. That's what you're looking for at the end of the day.
Okay, very interesting. That'll do us for today, guys. Tomorrow we'll be chatting to another one of Jackie's former teammates ahead of the big game. On Saturday we'll have our big preview, so lots and lots to get our teeth into between now and kick-off on Sunday. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Enjoy the game on Sunday. As for everyone else, we'll speak to you tomorrow.